Next, we have Mauria. Success story. CitrusLane was acquired, so we love success stories and people who do cool stuff. So with that, Mauria, please take it away.
Thank you. Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Mauria Finley. Quick way of background. Spent a bunch of time running product at a bunch of internet companies, but most recently, I launched a startup called CitrusLane. We did subscription e-commerce for parents. I ran it for 3 years, and it was acquired. And so my lessons today are going to be about marketing. You know, I ran a subscription e-commerce business, so they're going to bias towards transactional businesses, but I think they're applicable to lots of things. And so there's sort of the lessons learned from building. At the time the brand was bought, we were doing about $12 million run rate. Had really successful marketing. So, a lot of people come to me and ask about marketing. And they tell me their idea, and they tell me about their marketing. And they're very, very fixated on what I would say are the first 100 users. They're like, oh, I'm going to have great PR, and I'm going to do bloggers, and I guess what I'll tell you, we're going to spend one slide on that, and that is a lovely part of the program, and it lasts for a few seconds. And during that part, you should do it. You should get as much out of PR as you can. You should get as much out of friends and family, as much out of bloggers who'll do stuff for you for free. But it's all because you're new. And once you're not new, you're not news, and then you have to go to more scalable stuff. But you can totally maximize that, but it will only be the first step. But then you do marketing at scale. So the one caveat I'll say a few times during this is I'm only talking about marketing a product that already has product market fit. So, you'll read lots of things about growth hacking, and they will all say, don't do any of these things until your product is actually liked by users. And I'm going to double iterate that. Don't do any, what Sarah says about engagement. Make sure all that's right first before you actually apply marketing gas. But let's say you have that, and it's now time to figure out how to go from 100 to 10,000, or to go from 1,000 to 20,000. What your marketing is going to look like. It's going to be a combination of organic and paid, and it's going to be governed by math. Just like the world is governed by physics, your marketing is governed by a set of rules. So let's talk about organic. So I'll say this again, but the number one way to have organic is to have something people love. You cannot actually achieve organic if people don't, in fact, like it. So, what we did is we focused a lot on the metrics behind knowing how people liked it and getting better at it. So we sent a survey out every month after the box went out. We had a huge percentage of people take them. We watched retention, we watched NPS, but, first and foremost, before you get to do any marketing, make sure people love it. Then there's the part of organic that are like word of mouth. So the most simple definition of organic is people like it, so they tell someone else. You want that as much as you can get it every day to Sunday. You want to build stuff into your product that encourages someone to tell something else, so the product gets better if they tell someone else. Refer a friend. It's old, it's tried but true, but it works. So you really want a good referral program. But then I'm going to tell you about two things that I think we did at CitrusLane that are a little more unique, and I think added quite a lot to our organic mix. And those were content and community and pictures. So content community. So we were a service for moms of children 0 to 5 years old, and we had a very active community of 500,000 moms who engaged very actively in the brand. So, and what we did is we just looked at the human psychology of what does it mean. So we had a very popular format called Calling All Moms, where a mom would ask a question, and then people would respond, and you would get hundreds of people giving advice. And it was just based on this fundamental human emotion that as a mom, the first time you experience something, you have a lot of questions and want help. And then you have this giving thing, like if it's your second kid, or even if you just finished teething a 4-month-old, you want to give back, you want to share. So this urge to give and to get was very high. We did a lot of product voting, which was very popular. Do you prefer this? Do you prefer that? And what we did is we came up with a lot of engaging content that allowed moms to interact with the brand, have the fan feel trusted, have them connect with people. These were some of the things that won for us, but we treated this like we treated paid. We tried things, and we saw what happened and what worked, and we did more of it. The other thing we did is pictures. And this business was a year or so ago. So now if you were to do it, you'd probably overcorrect on video, given where Facebook's at. But there was a meme in our brand that after you got the box, you would take a picture of your child with the box, or you would take a picture of your child using the things in the box. And I would love to say we created the meme. We didn't create the meme. The meme created itself. But it had some very powerful effects, and we amplified those effects. So one effect it would have is people would hear about the brand, but weren't quite ready to buy. So they would join our community, engage in the question and answers, engage in the voting, and then once a month, there would be parties of thousands of pictures come out of kids being really happy with this thing. And so that created a huge amount of social proof that like, oh, if I would have gotten this, I would have had this moment. And then it even created envy. Like you would have like reams, hundreds of kids with pictures of this one fun thing, and you would want that. And what we did as a brand is we amplified it. Like the users would post the pictures, and of course other users would comment, but then we would do mashups. Like all the kids doing videos of musical instruments we'd put into one long format. And so just playing with the pictures. And again, this is a very human emotion of, as a parent, I'm quite confident my children are the cutest kids in the world. And this is a very common sentiment, because for every parent, their children are, in fact, the cutest kids in the world. And so the urge to share their picture and then to have their picture get shared and adored by others was a big part of that. And what's interesting about these is these were not about the transaction at all. These were about the brand, about interacting with other people, about the joy, but they drove quite dramatic results in actually the transactions. So that's the organic side. And there was a lot of testing to figure out which of these worked. Now, the paid side is not, the paid side is exceptionally important, and it's really a lot of detailed work. So, what we found at CitrusLane is we did exceptionally well on Facebook. I think a lot of brands still do very, very well on Facebook. But we tested it a lot. So we would try different ads with different offers, where an offer is like, 10% off, et cetera. And then we test going to different landing pages, and we test the whole flow, and we test pricing. And the trick of this is, this was a very complex test matrix. We were testing offers against each other, measuring them in terms of retention and satisfaction. We were testing conversion flows. We were testing pricing. And it was this never-ending thing where we were optimizing how efficient could we be. So, the highest level lesson I would say with paid is you're running a very analytical exercise of which platform, like Facebook, Pinterest, Pinstagram, Google, Pinstagram I made up, which offer, and then which conversion flow. So things that ended up being meaningful for us, and some of these, are obvious. We invested in mobile early, and it was very helpful. I think that at this point, that's like, you'd be crazy to not actually do everything on mobile first. Being on a platform early is very valuable. We were on Facebook early and figured it out. I think, figuring out how Instagram is working right now is very similar. Figuring out how video is being arbitraged by Facebook is very similar. And we found that it was actually very helpful to have a very big organic presence in the same medium that we had a paid presence. So even though we were spending on Facebook ads, we were doing a bunch of stuff organically to drive edge rank and reach in our community, which made our ads more effective. And then most importantly, we just analyzed it 55 ways to Sunday to figure out where it's going to be most efficient and what we can improve. Facebook worked really well for us. Affiliates worked well, and so did paid bloggers. Never worked particularly well for us was display or Google. But was probably more because we were discovery versus intent-based. So that's paid. And so then let's talk about math, because the way these come together actually is basic math, and it controls whether you have healthy marketing or quite unhealthy marketing. So the basic terms, which I assume you guys largely know a lot of these, but CAC, your cost to acquire a new customer, the full all-in cost, that cost should include everything you spend in advertising as well as any discount you give. Customer lifetime value, which is the revenue you'll get from a customer over time. Contribution margin, which is the profit after variable costs, but not including marketing, because we're going to compare marketing. And then your customer lifetime contribution. So this is where you take the revenue over time, but you just give yourself credit for the part that was the profit. And you often see people fake this. They'll show you their customer lifetime value in revenue, which is like cute and adorable, but you don't actually get to compare that to CAC. You have to compare your variable profit to CAC. So let's talk about what would be good. So there's lots of rules of thumb for this, and you can argue which is, these are fine. Better is always better, to be fair. So you want payback. So if you're going to acquire a customer, you need to get good ROI. I think a nice ROI is to achieve 3 times what you paid. So if you spend $20 all in to acquire a customer, you should get back $60 in variable profit, right? By profit, I mean, I'm not necessarily counting your fixed cost of your operation, your headcount, but I'm counting everything you need to service that customer. And then there's a big question of payback, and I'll have a slide on how to think about payback, but payback is really important because payback determines your risk profile of growth versus cash. And payback says, if I acquire a customer and pay $20, how soon do I get that $20 back? And we'll talk about that. The other things that will tell you if your business is healthy is whether your cohorts are improving. So you can often look at businesses and the first year of customers they acquired exhibited really nice signs. They were early adopters, they stayed around a long time, they bought a lot of stuff. But if your next year of customers don't act the same, that is not a great thing. So you want it to be getting better with cohorts. And then the other part that's tricky is, can you scale acquisition? What you can do when you're trying to acquire 100 customers a month may look really different than if you need to acquire 1,000 or if you need to acquire 5,000. And these are how you individually can tell if your business is good. And I will guarantee you, by the time you go out to raise Series B, maybe even A, there will be some analyst at a venture firm who will do all this on your behalf. So let's talk about them. So CAC. So what's the most interesting thing about CAC is you care about blended CAC. So the easiest way to think about this is, say you can get paid customers on Facebook for $20. But say half your customers come organically and they're free. Well, that's great. Now your blended CAC has become 10. And so this is why organic is magical. Because organic is you getting to blend in zero-cost people. So if your organic is 50% or 80%, your CAC is much, much lower. The other big way to drive CAC is conversion. If you take all the effort to give someone, they arrive at your site, either through an ad or organically. If you convert them at 2% versus 4% versus 6%, you will have radically different businesses. So driving conversion is one of your most cost-efficient ways to actually acquire customers at a reasonable price. And then there's lots of ways to run analysis on this, but the main thing to realize is that averages are very, very misleading. Like, you need to know your CAC by channel, like Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, organic. You need to know it by offer, like, did I give them 10% off? Did they come in on refer a friend? You need to know it by device, because what you'll often find when you double-click into this is that your blended number may be fine, but it may be some parts perform exceptionally well, and you have some parts that really suck. And you want to start combing those out. Or you might find that you think you found this thing where you're acquiring a ton of customers and it's really cheap. But then when you look at those customers, they're actually kind of crappy customers. So it is a very tricky thing. You have to go through and make sure you really understand what you're getting. And then customer lifetime value. Customer lifetime value is harder at the very beginning but to adjust for. But what controls customer lifetime value is the number of times they purchase, how big the average order size is, and how long they stay around for. And so you really, really want to watch this. And this comes up critically in your math because you're going to have to make an estimate. Okay? So when you go and decide to do CAC, you're going to make an estimate of how long you think they'll stay. And if you say, well, I think, based on this retention, they're going to stay 3 years. That's fine, but you may spend money assuming that, and if you're wrong, you may fall upside down. What I have found in practice is retention is often longer than you think, but you should be really careful to bet into it on early data. So cash payback. So when you think about blended CAC, and this is a really critical decision to make as a startup, which is, what do you want your payback period to be? So let's take for a second 3 scenarios. Well, one basic scenario. Something costs people's first order is $50. We believe they purchase 4 times a year, and we take 30% contribution. So if we wanted to pay back in first order, we have a $50 order, we make $15, we can spend $15. So this is pretty safe. You know, you're going to spend $15, you're going to make $15. If they never do anything again, you're fine. And if they do anything again, it's gravy. So that's pretty safe. At the far end, we can say, you know what? I'm going to take a whole year of payback. I think I have data to make me believe they're going to purchase 4 times, thus I will spend $60. So you're going to outlay cash at $60 in January, and you hope by that December you have paid it back. This may be the right thing to do if you have enough cash and you have enough confidence, but it comes down to a question. The more you spend on CAC, the faster you will generally grow. However, if you are wrong about the tenure or the customer lifetime value, you may actually spend money you never get back. Now, there are scenarios. There's a really good article written why Uber actually spent its way into liquidity, and that was a brilliant idea. There are times when you want to spend aggressively into an end game, but you have to really think about your cash position when you do that. And the secret is get the most data you can. Like, your understanding of customer lifetime value and customer lifetime contribution will change all the time based on the data. And so you should figure out what your parameters are, but you should update it with your data. So big levers, CAC, organic is a huge lever, good channels, good conversion. And customer lifetime value is find more things to sell them or get them to buy more in a given time. So here are the high-level lessons I found. So first and foremost, and there's no skipping this one, make a product people love. You can slog your way through a lot of stuff, but if they don't love it, you're basically guaranteed the math will never work out for you. Because your organic will be too low, your retention will be too low, all those forces will configure and they will make your product implode. It is just a mathematical certainty. So have something people love. My second lesson, and this comes from people coming and talking to me a lot, is what you think works for the first 100 customers is likely not what's going to work for the next 1,000, and is likely not what's going to work for the next 10 or 20,000. So your playbook will change, which is fine. Ride the wave you're on, get as much value as you can, but remember, you're going to have to catch the next wave. My third point is organic is your magic booster. Organic blends into your numbers like magic and makes everything work better. So have a product people love, invest in virality, find the hooks that get more people coming to you without you paying. The fourth is paid acquisition is absolutely fine. It's healthy, it's good, it's a rigorous practice, but have guardrails. Like, there are a set of financial math that will tell you if your paid is healthy or not healthy. And you're gonna have to play it healthy because you don't get to be unhealthy for very long unless you have really infinite cash. And the final point is that it's a treadmill. So, it's funny, I have a lot of people come and ask me, like, oh, how do you do marketing? What's the secret? And the truth is, there is 0 secrets. Like, there are none. It is just a lot of work. And the work doesn't, like, you can't do one thing and you're like, oh, I got it. Like, I've totally nailed it. Like, I absolutely know how to acquire on this channel. It is guaranteed to change. So it is this just ongoing steady state of test, iterate, test, iterate. That's all I have. Thanks.